Rhea story. Um, I'm thinking of another moment that could be perceived as important, as showing resilience, great strength, some intelligence maybe, um, stoicism. I mentioned yesterday, yes, with an ascetic life, trying to discipline myself. But then, what I also did in teenage years, late teenage years, 16, 18, was to try and learn a lot. And I'm thinking one aspect was good, that with Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Oedipus King, and so on. But then, the fact that I applied myself to mathematics and physics, even if it brought in uh, short-term results, uh, at the end of the day, was a futile exercise in quite a few ways, maybe. Anyway, the extent to which I applied myself and the gains made then seem useless in with insight, in perspective. Why I'm saying that? Because yes, I was so good and it was so exhilarating to have the math teacher and at one of the best high schools in town and in the land, in the country, Mihefitazo. Um, have him write the question, the problem on the table, and I would be able and ready to raise my hand and say, I know the solution, even before he finished writing the problem. That was not always, evidently. I was not Einstein. I'm not. But quite often. And yes, the results were fast, good. It was outstanding. I went to university, to geology, faculty of geology, and I entered second with best marks in mathematical analysis and physics. Geometry, for some reason, was still good there, but because I came second, I mean, I didn't flop geometry altogether, but I had a sort of a little bit than average note, 8, I don't know, enough to drag me to second place. With the other two, I would be miles ahead of the rest. But anyway, wonderful. First year again in educational terms. Uh, Incredible. I even had a mention in my notes for the time. Jordanian student. I mean, I was teaching him as much as I could mathematics, and he was like made of sand. He didn't know the basics of algebra or anything for that matter. But still, so I was flying through class, but soon I realized that um, this is not getting me anywhere. It's pointless because yes, it was a choice that was better than others. I mean, I said to myself, I don't want polytechnics. I don't want to go into a factory or anything. I didn't feel uh, good enough. I didn't concentrate on literature, on languages, so to say. In fact, in high school, um, we either played football or we had to sit on a bench outside during English classes with the rest. So not much attention, if any, was given to this domain, and I didn't feel I could compete in that then. But again, with insight, maybe that was a mistake. Now it's evident that I have much more of an inclination towards reading, literature, then mathematics, physics, and the rest, and geology, geophysics, which I graduated in the end, but with no enthusiasm and maybe no interest at all towards the end, because I saw what happens with those who finish. They were sent in the field in various places and they had to do nothing professionally because Ceausescu had at that time another priority, the so-called agrarian revolution, which meant all means dedicated to harvesting, to whatever. In theory, in practice, we know this outrage in many parts because they couldn't finish by the deadline. They have the 5-year plan, 1-year plan. The guy would fly over the crops, and to make it look like they finished, they would just destroy the crop. They would run with machinery over it and bury it in the ground rather than spend more time to take it and go beyond the stupid, outrageous limit imposed by the government, the Ceausescu regime, whatever. And in all that, a collateral victim was also geology because they couldn't go into fields. No one could. There was a priority. The comrade, beloved leader, would come flying or whatever, or another communist little local tyrant, and you would have to see that the corn or maize, or the maize is the same thing, whatever crop was beetle was harvested, was taken care of. And so geologists, geophysicists for that matter, would sit in their camp, in their offices, and wait for another era, for something. And I said, I don't want this. I chose guiding and to try and see what comes out. I delayed as much as possible the end. Until indeed it worked. End of the Ceausescu era, revolution. And then it didn't work a day in my life as a geophysicist. And started on the travel business side. It's also true that with the change of regime, colleagues of mine, geophysicists, could go in, granted, impossible places in the world, like, I don't know, in the middle of nowhere in Bangladesh, or I'm just saying, I don't think Bangladesh is actually the spot for them. And there is no middle of nowhere. There's so many people there. You can't be isolated there. But in the tar sands in Canada, I don't know, Angola, in the middle of the ocean somewhere, they would go find work, and not just that, be paid, some of them with $20,000 a month. So big salaries, big responsibility, hard life in many ways, but perspective for something, if there's a call, if you have a calling for it.